Trophy hunting sometimes makes you do crazy things. Some people try to platinum games in alphabetical order. Others hate themselves enough to spend hundreds of hours grinding the longest and most boring games in existence. Some even force themselves to play with 2 controllers at once for over an hour to get a single trophy in a bike game. Don't ask me how I know this. This time I wanted to give myself a challenge. If you are a trophy hunter, you definitely know PSN profiles. Every single guide there has a platinum difficulty rating on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 out of 10 is usually a game that practically plays itself. 5 out of 10 can already give you some challenge here and there. And a 10 out of 10? That's where you start questioning every life choice that led you to this exact moment. It includes games like Super Meat Boy, Jump King, Wolfenstein 2 with its infamous no-death run, or Crypt of the Necrodancer, which is the hardest game to ever exist and should have its own difficulty rating just for the things it does to people who attempt it. Psst, 1 million subs and I'm gonna do it. So yeah, you already know what's coming. 10 games, 10 platinum trophies, all difficulties one after another. So grab some snacks, get comfortable, hit that like button to support my disappearing sanity, and let's flip the very first card. Released in 2021, our first game is TOEM. This game calls itself a photo adventure, and that's basically all it is. You move around a couple of areas, try to take a photo of every interesting thing around you, and talk with people who will give you various quests. They are mostly focused on finding items or photographing a specific thing somewhere nearby. The trophies are super simple, and I got my first one literally 2 minutes after starting the game, just for taking a photo of my mother and beginning the journey. It's the most chill game you could ever imagine, although the gameplay is pretty repetitive. You take a bus, visit a new area, and get a trophy for that. Then you talk with the guy near the bus stop who welcomes you and says that you need a certain number of stamps to move to the next area. Stamps are rewards from the quests you get during your adventure. In the first area I had 15 quests to do and 7 of them were required to take the next bus. Some quests are quite cryptic, like the one which told me to become a flower, but others are obvious from the very beginning. Like the one with a tiny army of soldiers, which obviously required me to find some ants, take a photo of them and show it to the quest giver. Some of the NPCs start shining after you complete their quests, and taking a photo of them also gives us a trophy. And that's the whole gameplay. After earning enough stamps, you take a bus to the next location, get a trophy for that, and the whole cycle repeats. There is a total of 4 different locations in the game. Apart from the forest that you just saw, there is Stanham, a port with several beaches around, Log City with big buildings, cars and troubled citizens, and Kiruberg, which is a cold and snowy mountain. This is also our final goal in the story, as we have to reach the peak of it and experience the titular TOEM. Whoa! Afterwards we come back home, show the picture to the mom, and the game is over. There's also a free DLC in the game, which is a new location on a tropical island. It introduces a new mechanic where you can take a nap and switch between day and night, which results in different water levels, NPCs and animals spawning around. Other than that, the cycle looks exactly the same, and here are all 11 trophies that I got here in about an hour and a half. So the last thing to do was cleaning up the remaining quests and trophies. I played the whole game blind, and at this point I had only 13 quests left and 37 out of 49 trophies earned. And since I didn't want to lose time walking around and wondering what to do, I checked the guide and followed the instructions. First I came back to one beach to make 2 NPCs sing at the same time, which lured a giant fish. It was the last animal that I hadn't taken a photo of yet, so I got a trophy for doing that. Next I went back to Log City and took a photo of a clock tower and a photo of a hotel in the forest. In one of the factories in the city there was a guy who was very proud of his streak as Employee of the Month. So I took a selfie and shamelessly placed myself in the next month's frame, which destroyed the poor guy's dreams. Lastly, I took a photo of the developers of the game, equipped all suits and items, and finally completed the remaining quests in Stanham, Log City, Kiruberg, and Oaklaville, which earned me the easiest and quickest platinum in our challenge. The game took me only 6 hours to complete. I think it was one of the best choices for this difficulty, as there are many shovelware games which give you platinum for pressing the X button 50 times. This one had actual gameplay, a small story, and was pretty fun. But it's still nothing compared to our second game, which is the Plucky Squire. And honestly, this is one of the greatest and most fun platformers I've ever played. The gameplay and the plot are very original, the creators constantly throw something new at us, and there is not a single moment where you could be bored. The game takes place inside a book and we play as its main character. The whole story is read by a narrator who explains everything that happens around us. And we start our journey with a simple task of getting some wax from nearby bees. Armed with a sword, we fight some goblins, and then the game gives us the first surprise as it suddenly changes into a side-scroller. And that was just the beginning. As we reached the beast location, we had to face the first boss. Luckily, we were pretty jacked. The fight is a literal boxing match, which is yet another new surprising mechanic. And after winning the fight, we got the first of 21 trophies. Right afterwards, we noticed something weird happening on the nearby tower. And obviously we had to check what was going on. Along the way I found my very first art scroll and Glitchbird, which are this game's collectibles. Another cool mechanic of the Plucky Squire is that we can control what's written in the book and thus changing things around us to take advantage of it. For example, here I found the word ruin, which I placed in the sentence that previously had forest in it, and it completely changed the nearby environment. Once we finally reached the tower, we met our eternal enemy Hamgrump. While exploring a secret chamber inside the tower, he found a book titled none other than the Plucky Squire. He realized that the whole world is a creation of a book, and he, as a dark character, is always meant to lose against the main protagonist. Unless the protagonist isn't present in the story. Using some forgotten magic, he ejects us from the book. Oh wow! What? We are out of the book. Luckily, after exploring the new world for a while, I met a new ally, the bookworm, who can travel around books and all kinds of pieces of paper. And obviously she taught us how to do it too. I could even pick up things from the 3D world and bring them to the 2D one. Then I had to pass a couple of sneaking sections to avoid beetles, and eventually found a magic gauntlet which let me manipulate my own book. This game just wouldn't stop surprising me. Using it, I could come back, open it on a page where my friend was waiting, and enter my 2D world again. After reuniting with my friends and telling them what happened, we started looking for Hamgrump to try to stop him from his devious plans. While doing so, I had to solve a couple of puzzles. Some of them obviously required exiting the book and entering it from another page. And during one of those puzzles, I played around with the sentences and changed the frog size to huge, which gave me another trophy. I then used the same word on various different pages, and when I used it near the bridge, another trophy popped. There are also many mini-games along the way, like this one where I had to grab a fish jumping around a puddle. Yes! Perfect fish grab. First try! And as I said, I did it perfectly on the first try. It's not that I had like 5 missed attempts, that obviously didn't happen. Almost. Let's wait a little bit longer. No! Fuck. Generally, I don't want to spoil every fun thing that appears in the game. Firstly, because it's seriously great and I would have to show you almost the entire game and this challenge video would be entirely about it. And secondly, because I think that this game deserves to be played blind and without knowing much about it. Unless you are really curious about it. Let me know in the comments and I might do a separate video about this platinum. Let me just say that during the journey we get a lot of different ways to explore both the 3D world on the desk as well as the varied world inside the book. And of course we get many more ways to manipulate the book itself and its content. So let's skip near the end of the story where I already had 15 trophies earned and things went pretty bad. We entered the palace of Hamgrump and learned the origin story of our villain, which sounded suspiciously familiar. It turns out that young Hamgrump wanted to be a poet. But unfortunately he wasn't as talented as he thought he was and his poems were rejected by every publisher. And since he wrote many things about butterflies, they became the symbol of his rejection and vengeance against the unjust world. Now, focus on what I'm saying. We have a guy who wanted to be an artist, got rejected, and once he became super evil, he imprisoned many people and put a symbol everywhere that the whole world now knows. And the first letter of his name is H. I can't be the only one who sees this. This can't be a coincidence, right? I'm not crazy. I'm not!
Stop it. Get some help.
Anyway, here I got 2 trophies for finding my last scroll, and soon afterwards the last glitch bird. Then we had the final boss fight, which tested every skill we learned during the game, and then the ultimate epic fight, which happened in the 3D world and was quite challenging for a second game in the challenge. But eventually I won, Hamgrump exploded in a spectacular way and ended up being chased by a T-Rex. Yes, the dinosaurs are in here too. This gave me a trophy for defeating the final boss, and after a cutscene I got the remaining trophies for finishing the story, completing it on harder difficulty, and finally the platinum. And here are my thoughts on this game right after finishing it. Nice. Amazing game, truly amazing game. I had a fantastic time playing it. I don't remember when was the last time I had so much fun playing any game. Like, really. I just wish it was like 2 times longer than that. And so, with the Plucky Squire being complete, we can reveal the 3rd game in the challenge, Spider-Man Miles Morales. This game needs no introduction. I feel like most PlayStation users have played at least one Spider-Man game. I platinumed both main games a long time ago, and this one was sitting in my backlog for over 3 years due to one of the most stupid trophy lists ever created. Specifically, this one trophy. I genuinely hate such trophies as they give no real value to the game other than artificially lengthening it by requiring you to play the game twice. That's why when I played this originally, I just dropped it after completing the story and finishing side content. Now I decided to use the challenge to clean up my backlog a little, and this game was perfect for that. The story is set during Christmas. Peter Parker has to leave New York and puts the city in Miles' care. The new Spider-Man investigates a break-in at Roxxon Plaza and stops a high-tech criminal group called the Underground from stealing Roxxon's new experimental power source, Newform. Long story short, the Newform thing is super unstable and, combined with Miles' electric powers, creates a giant explosion on a bridge. Roxxon obviously tries to hide this and pushes their new invention anyway to power the entire city. On the other side of the conflict we have the mentioned Underground, led by the Tinkerer who, spoiler alert, is Miles' best childhood friend, Finn. Generally, the whole thing feels like DLC and not standalone game. The map is smaller than in the original Spider-Man, the story can be completed in 5 hours, which is shorter than the Plucky Squire, and the only thing that makes it longer is a huge amount of side content and collectibles. And the New Game Plus trophy, of course. So yeah, I played it again on the lowest difficulty to make it quicker and got some remaining trophies from past years like defeating 100 enemies with electric powers, taking down 25 enemies from the ceiling and from the wall, getting 100 combo, and unlocking all suits and skills which were locked behind the NG Plus playthrough. It probably won't be a surprise when I tell you that I am not a fan of the story and puzzles in the game either. Like, suddenly everything in the whole city requires electricity to be unlocked or fixed. If Peter were here instead of Miles, he would be helpless. I know that many games do such things, but it was terribly noticeable here, as literally every single puzzle and enemy hideout required you to do something with electricity. The only highlight of the game is the fight against Rhino. It requires a little bit more skill and is somewhat original compared to all other basic fights in the game. The final fight against Finn, aka Tinkerer, was fine too, but nothing special. So here it is, the trophy for completing New Game Plus and the Platinum. Let's just move on, shall we? Alright, I complained a bit, but that's behind us now as we are moving to a truly great game. Red Dead Redemption. I've wanted to play this game for a very long time and there couldn't be a better excuse to do it now. Red Dead Redemption was the only right choice for the 4 out of 10 difficulty. It has everything, a great story, an amazing world setup, original characters that you really care about, and trophies that aren't overly tedious or frustrating. Honestly, the Platinum journey here was one of the most fun experiences I have had in a while. We went from herding cows and playing horseshoes to starting a literal revolution in Mexico, placing hog-tied women on train tracks and getting chased by zombies. You know, just standard cowboy stuff. But if I wanted to tell you everything that happened in the story, all the challenges, the DLC, the funny encounters, I would have to spend like 40 minutes on that. And guess what? It so just happens that I actually did exactly that in my last video. So if you want to see the full uncut story of how I became the Legend of the West, click the card in the corner, either right now or save it in a new tab for after we finish this challenge. I promise you it's worth it. With Red Dead complete, we are officially done with the easy stuff. Things are about to get noticeably harder, so let's not waste any more time and reveal the game number 5. Yakuza Like a Dragon. Yakuza is a very well-known series of action-adventure games that started in 2005 and has released a stunning 18 games up to today. And I had never played any of them. And I had my reasons for that. Firstly, because I knew some of them are turn-based and I'm mostly used to more dynamic gameplay, so I wasn't sure if it would suit me. And secondly, because most Yakuza games take an average of a freaking 100 hours to complete and are usually quite hard. But I had to try it at some point, and the choice fell on Like a Dragon because I heard it was some kind of a soft reboot of the series, with new characters and story, and it was for free at some point on PS Plus, so yeah. The story is pretty long and complex, but let me summarize it real quick. We play as Ichiban Kasuga, a member of the Yakuza, which, if you don't know yet, is the Japanese mafia. One night a murder was committed by a high-ranking member and someone had to take the fall. We get asked to do it, and as a loyal family member we accept and happily go to prison for 18 years. Fast forward to 2019, Kasuga gets released expecting a hero's welcome. Instead, his boss Arakawa shoots him in the chest and leaves his body in a pile of garbage. We are rescued by a homeless ex-nurse and start a journey together. And because Kasuga's brain is fried and fueled by gaming logic, he views reality as an actual turn-based RPG. That's why everyone around us has giant weapons, magic powers and fights in diapers? Don't ask, there's a lot of weird things in this game. Long story short, we stumble into a massive conspiracy involving counterfeit money and 3 rival Yakuza factions, including Chinese, Korean and Japanese mobs. We eventually even fight against the governor of Tokyo. You really have to experience it yourself, it's super fun and there are a couple of crazy plot twists. As for the trophies, there are 63 of them in total and they are mostly pretty basic. Completing all 15 chapters of the story, completing 40 side quests, maxing out bond levels with each friend, or reaching level 70. There are also miscellaneous ones, like watching all movies in the cinema, beating all can collecting courses, or finding all the people who will give you a honk honk. It heals and boosts our stats afterwards, and I'm not sure I want to know what they meant by that. Overall, I had a great time playing this game. The story was interesting and all the random stuff happening was pretty funny too. That was true right up until I had to go for the final trophy, Victory of the Millennium. For that you have to beat the true final Millennium Tower. So I was like, okay, let's do it. I was level 70 something, had pretty good gear and stats, what could go wrong? Well, it turns out every single enemy in the tower is level 99 and one-shotted me right at the start. So I was like, okay, there's a dungeon where you can grind XP pretty fast, let's run it a couple of times, get to level 99 too, and we are good. Nope. That wasn't even close to enough. I was still getting one-shotted. Turns out, to have even a slight chance of beating it, I had to not only level up myself and all my teammates to level 99, but I also had to max out all available jobs and get the rarest, most expensive equipment. And even then, I would still have to pray that RNG would be gracious enough not to target Kasuga too often, because, fun fact, if you die at any point during this hour-long tower run, all progress is lost. So when I originally played this at the end of last year, I just dropped it with that single trophy left. I can't even do anything. What the fuck? That changed during this challenge. I had to pick a 5 out of 10 game, and instead of starting another long platinum from scratch, I figured I could just finish grinding this one out. And that's exactly what I did. While working on other games for the challenge, I spent around 20 to 30 minutes daily doing 1 or 2 runs in the best XP dungeon, the one you can see right now playing at higher speed. I had memorized the map and knew where to find 4 groups containing a special enemy type that gave about 50 times more XP than regular enemies. So with every run I entered the dungeon, skipped all non-essential fights, cleared those 4 groups, walked back out to save and respawn enemies, and repeated the process over and over. I don't have the exact time I spent doing this, but I can certainly say that it took around 15 hours. I have never spent so much time in a game doing the exact same boring task. If I hadn't planned this before and spread this grind out over 2 months, this would have easily been one of the most draining experiences of my life. And only because of that, despite enjoying most of the playthrough, I lost all desire to check out the rest of the series. But let's get back to the Millennium Tower. After all that grinding, I returned with full confidence and got one-shotted again. Luckily, it was only on a support character. Kasuga managed to barely tank the hit. Jesus Christ, what is it? I also read multiple guides on how to heal and revive efficiently and learned about Peerless Resolve, which allowed Kasuga to survive a hit that would otherwise knock him out. I spammed this skill constantly, praying that no more than 2 enemies would target him in a single turn. That applied to every single fight during an hour-plus run. Not gonna lie, it was super stressful. Especially when the skill actually triggered and left me with 0 backup protection. And if that wasn't enough, in the middle of the final boss fight, Amon summons 3 of the strongest bosses in the entire game to fight you all at once. Thankfully the guide warned me about this, so I knew exactly when to summon so-called Poundmate, Mr. Masochist, who gave me a massive damage reduction for a few turns. And yeah, this is his summoning cutscene. And it's not even the most unhinged one. But after 90 minutes of pure stress, I finally landed the final blow and got the trophy. Somehow I pulled it off on the first try, and right afterward the platinum popped as well. And with that monstrosity being complete, we finished the first row of platinums. Time for something a bit more chill. The Witness. The Witness is a game full of mysteries with over 500 puzzles spread across an open world ready to be explored. And it honestly hooked me right from the very beginning. It's built around solving those seemingly simple looking maze puzzles on terminals. The island where we are placed is divided into 11 different areas, and each of them introduces new rules and constraints to the player. You are free to visit them in any order, but you have to be careful. Some of the later puzzles combine mechanics from a few different areas, making them much more complex than they initially seemed to be. The game doesn't explain anything. If you go somewhere you shouldn't be yet, well, good luck, you have no chance of solving anything. But by going step by step, you will start with very simple terminals that are self-explanatory, and you will get that great feeling of accomplishment from figuring it out by yourself. The puzzles themselves are extremely diverse. For some, you have to look out for a certain shadow pattern and recreate it on a nearby panel. Others take place on symmetrical panels where you control not one line but two moving like a mirror image. At one point, you even have to solve panels by listening to surrounding sounds and matching their pitch. So you may ask, okay, but how is this game rated as 6 in difficulty? You can probably find all solutions online and just use them. Well, yeah, that's true for the base areas. But it isn't for the last trophy, where you have to beat a certain challenge, which, by the way, is the exact reason why I was procrastinating on this platinum for almost 5 years. And as usual, I used this challenge as the perfect excuse to come back and finish it off. What's so hard about it? You come across a cave with several final puzzles, each of which is randomly generated, so there is no way to just look up the solutions online. Plus, some of them introduce a completely new mechanic that you have to figure out from scratch. And I actually don't know which one was new, because I came here back after over 4 years, so everything was kinda new to me and I had to learn it all over again. Oh, and the most important thing, the puzzles are time limited. You have only around 7 minutes to solve everything in the cave, and if you fail, you have to start over with newly generated puzzles. Sounds like fun, right? For me, it actually is. I love logic puzzles and challenges like this, so it was a pretty cool experience. I read in various places that the challenge is super tough and people were spending days trying to beat it on time without any success. I just read some guides, watched a couple of tutorials with tips and tricks. By the way, I highly recommend RBD Jellyfish channel, which has an entire playlist dedicated to each part of the challenge, and it helped me a lot. And yeah, after studying everything, I needed a little over an hour and a good bit of luck with the final puzzle requiring just a straight line, and the challenge trophy was mine. The Platinum 2, of course. And I honestly don't know why I waited so long to do this. The witness is complete and it's time for another game that spent way too much time in my backlog. Crash Bandicoot. We are entering the true endgame. And actually, I'm gonna do a quick triple reveal here, because those next 3 games are extremely special to me. Not only because the difficulty spikes up dramatically, but because they are where this YouTube channel was born. Number 8 is Unravel 2, and number 9 is Deadbolt. For those who haven't seen the original videos yet, I highly recommend checking them out in this order. They are a great complement to this challenge and show those platinum journeys in full detail. And if you are an OG who already watched them, no worries. Instead of boring you with story recaps and explaining mechanics, I'm skipping straight to the pure suffering and highlight the best moments that stick with me up to this day. Starting of course with the classic Crash Bandicoot. This is another game where I already had most of the trophies earned, so I was left with only the time trials. Each level had to be completed under a target time to earn a gold or platinum relic. And since I associate Crash mainly with rage and stupid fails, here is a nice compilation of those moments, along with the few successes that led me to the platinum. No! I kept smashing that fucking square! Ah! No. You know what? Fuck this level. It worked and it stopped. Oh no! Of course. Of fucking course! Cool, cool, cool. Ah, not cool, not cool! Wow! Please, please, please! Is it enough, please? It's not. Can you see it? 1 millisecond. 1 fucking millisecond! Yes! That's a great time. Gold! Boom. Nice. Yes, yes, yes! Finally! Yes! Yes! I fucking did it! Finally! Jesus! Make it, please! Yes, 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 yes! I did it! Practice makes perfect. So that means the platinum popped now. Okay, I take it. Collect. Want to know why I was so surprised at the end? Well, you will have to check the original video. And as promised, we are moving straight into Unravel 2. I have much more pleasant memories of Unravel 2, although most of the trophies I needed were also about speedrunning every single level. But unlike Crash, this wasn't about spectacular fails or endless rage, but about fitting into ridiculously tight time limits. Especially considering this game is meant to be played in co-op, and I did it solo. I even had to learn and use a special move found on YouTube just to get anywhere near the target times. But since the levels were pretty long compared to Crash, the most nerve-wracking moments happened right at the very end of them. Go, 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 go! 12 and a half from my timer. Plus this scene, it's like 15 seconds, so it might be like just less than 10 seconds before the limit. It is possible. 12:50, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes! Roof Runner! Beat the gold medal in Hideaway. Nice! And what was... It was exactly 30... So yeah, my timer was super accurate. It was exactly 13 minutes. And the final boss of this platinum was a trophy about beating all 20 of the bonus levels in under 45 minutes in one go. It's super intimidating because a few silly mistakes can wipe out almost an hour of progress, and some of those bonus levels are no joke at all. One of them took me 30 minutes to beat just once. But anything is possible if you are stubborn enough, and I got the platinum much faster than I expected. Check the full video if you want to see how that went. And just like that, we jump right into the very first game I ever covered on this channel, Deadbolt. This one is absolutely brutal. You play as the Grim Reaper clearing out undead mobs in a 2D stealth action game. But the catch is that you die in a single hit. One tiny mistake and you are sent straight back to the start. But even with that, beating the game wasn't enough for such difficulty. To get this platinum, you have to clear every single mission with a perfect 5-star rating, which means landing perfect headshots without missing and running levels flawlessly and very fast. And there is still more. The final 2 trophies demand a complete no-death run and a speedrun with completing the entire game in under 1 hour. Yes, I did 4 games in a row with speedrun requirements. That wasn't the plan. The no-death run went pretty smoothly, and you can check why in the original video waiting for you. The speedrun, however, was the ultimate test of my sanity. It was an emotional roller coaster when I kept dying in stupid ways and almost lost hope of ever finishing it. On my final attempt, with the tiny margin of error I had left, I kept going on until I faced the final boss and had only one chance to beat him. No, 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 don't go left! Come on, get over here! Yes! Time 57, okay. Die. Come on! Come on! Yeah! Yeah! Famine beat the game in 1 hour. And the platinum. Oh my god, I'm so happy. Jesus, my hands are shaking so much. The emotions I felt then are indescribable. It's been over half a year, but I still get goosebumps watching the final part and remembering the feeling I had at that moment. And with that, the Holy Trinity is done. No more speedruns. At least for a while. This leaves us with only one thing. The final boss, the pinnacle of this entire challenge. The 10 out of 10 Fall Guys. Yes, the colorful Bean Battle Royale became my 10 out of 10. I've played this game almost since I first got my PlayStation, back when it was free on PS Plus. And I really liked it from the very beginning. It became my comfort game. The one I played when I was bored and just wanted to chill out and race against other beans, or when another game frustrated me and I had to relieve my emotions somehow. I never actually planned to get the platinum here, but it so just happened that I unlocked most of the trophies during those casual sessions. The gameplay is very simple and I assume many of you already know how it works. You play as a little bean, competing in many multiplayer rounds, ranging from obstacle course races to team games, puzzles and survival levels. In each round, a certain number of the slowest beans are eliminated, and the goal is to be the last one standing to win the episode. Originally, you had to defeat 59 other players in the episode, but nowadays, since the game is not as popular as it used to be, the episodes start with 32 players. There are a couple of hard trophies that earn this game its 10 out of 10 rating. For example, you have to get first place in a racing round 20 times and, during one of those, perform an emote right before crossing the finish line. You also have to team up with a party of at least 3 players and win a whole episode together. But the most iconic trophy, the one that made me give up on this platinum, is infallible. You have to win 5 episodes in a row, not 5 rounds. 5 entire episodes. You have to beat all the other players in races, pray that your teammates in team games have functioning brains, and hope RNG gives you maps you are actually good at. During my casual playthroughs, I think I managed to win 2 in a row, maybe once. So obviously I assumed it was impossible and just moved on. That was until last holidays, when I randomly read on a trophy hunting Discord that there was a special event in Fall Guys, making the infallible trophy super easy to get. I don't really remember the exact rules, but I think there could be multiple winners in a single episode. The difficulty was significantly lowered, and indeed I got the trophy in just a few tries. With that out of the way, I only had 2 trophies left that were definitely within my reach. The first was getting first place in 20 racing rounds. I returned to casual play without any pressure, and eventually one day the trophy just popped. The only thing left was winning an episode in a party of at least 3 players. Now, as we all know, making friends as a gamer is the hardest trophy in the game called life, so I didn't really have anyone to help me with that. And the random players I tried to team up with just weren't good enough to win the entire episode. So I reached out to some other trophy hunters and they agreed to help. And now you probably expect a nice montage of the 3 of us clutching the final round to win the episode. Well, I don't have it. I have absolutely zero footage of this platinum. All the gameplay recordings you have seen so far were made way after I got it. Because as some of you might have realized by now, I actually did this 1 to 10 challenge in reverse. I got the Fall Guys plat and thought, hey, it might be a nice idea to use it as a start of a challenge. It was only later during Deadbolt that I decided to record my gameplay and start this YouTube thing. But getting back to the topic, the guys I found delivered. They managed to carry me through the whole episode, and this generic automatic clip from the console is the only proof I have of that moment. And there we have it! 10 games, 10 difficulties, 10 platinums. The challenge is finally complete. But before we wrap up, I prepared a little extra something for you at the end. So to summarize the challenge, I wanted to make a ranking, 2 rankings actually. And the first ranking is about difficulties, and then the ranking of how much I enjoyed each of those games. So, starting with the difficulty, we have TOEM. There was nothing hard to do in this game, so 1 out of 10 is a perfect spot for this game. Then we have the Plucky Squire. There was some combat in there, especially in the final chapter, but nothing too crazy, so 2 out of 10 is perfectly fine. Spider-Man, yeah, definitely harder than the Plucky Squire, but easier than Red Dead Redemption, so it's a perfect spot for it as well. Now, Red Dead Redemption, it was harder. I mean, I felt that little spike of difficulty, but it wasn't harder than any of the rest of the games in the list. Now we will have our first shuffle, as I feel like The Witness was easier than Yakuza, because yeah, The Witness, it had this challenge, but yeah, it took me like an hour and I was done. A little over an hour, and I was done. And Yakuza, for all this grind, this stupid Millennium Tower, yeah, it deserves to be here. Fall Guys will land here. Fall Guys still require much more skill than that. Like in Yakuza, you just have to be patient, like super patient, but with enough determination. If you I spent about 15 hours, but if you spend 20 hours, you will be even stronger than that. So the Millennium Tower will be easier for you. In Fall Guys, they became easier. They are not 10 out of 10 anymore, that's for sure. But they still require skill. Like those 5 wins in a row, they are still hard. Like, okay, they are those events that make them much easier. But you have to wait like several weeks or even months for this specific event to appear, and only then you can get this trophy. This is the definition of being hard, if you can't do anything unless there is a special event for that. So yeah, so I think it deserves to be here. And now the Holy Trinity. All 3 of those remaining games are hard. I think that out of those 3, Unravel was the easiest. It was hard, it was really hard, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. It was very smooth, it was going really smooth, like okay, like each level took me about an hour to complete, but that's it. Yeah, and the final challenge was a complete surprise where I just completed it like that. So yeah, Unravel stays here. And now those 2 games are quite close. Like Crash is a definition of rages and fails and everything, but Crash is like full of small speedruns, like those time trials, we can call them like small speedruns. And if you make a mistake, the most you are losing is like 3 or 4 minutes, right? So that's okay. But in Deadbolt, we had this whole game speedrun, and one single mistake wastes like an hour from your life. Yeah, it was much more stressful. It wasn't rage inducting like Crash was, because in Crash you could make a mistake in the last second or millisecond. In Deadbolt there wasn't such thing, but it was still harder, much harder. That's why it deserves to be here and have a trophy of being the hardest one in the challenge. And now we are moving to the ranking of enjoyment. From the least enjoyable to the ones where I had the most fun. TOEM as the least one? Probably. I mean, it was okay, but it's a game that you play and forget. It was nothing spectacular, nothing that you will remember. Then we would have The Witness, Yakuza, and Spider-Man competing on those 3 places, that's for sure. The Witness because it's just logic puzzles, Yakuza because of that last tower, like it ruined the whole experience of the game for me. Even though the game was really good, I'm ranking how I felt during getting the platinum, and this final tower ruined the whole experience. That's why it's so low. And Spider-Man also because the New Game Plus requirement, and I generally try to avoid platinuming games that require 2 playthroughs, especially when those 2 playthroughs are exactly the same, like you'd get nothing in return. I got nothing. I got 1 new suit and 3 new skills, and I think I didn't use any of them, so yeah, it was a waste of time. So yeah, so I will probably even switch it with Yakuza, just because of that. Next, this is gonna be hard choice, but I'm probably go with Unravel. Yeah, Unravel is a very simple platformer. There's also not much going on in there. The story is somewhere in the background, and if you don't really care about it, you won't even see it. There's not much of a fun factor in this game. So that's why I'm placing it here. Then we will have a battle between Crash, Deadbolt and Fall Guys. Fall Guys was for free in PS Plus somewhere around when I got my first PS4. So I remember I got this and I played it a lot. So it must be high for me because I really like this game. But should it be that high? Probably no. Crash was much more fun for me. You might not see it because I was raging most of the times, but I was prepared for those rages. Like, it was fun being furious. If you like playing hard games, you probably know what I mean by that. Like, you expect the challenge, you get it, you feel super angry when you fail over and over again, but then you complete the challenge and you're like, ah, yeah, that feels good. Like, this is really great feeling, and Crash was giving this feeling like many times. As for the Deadbolt, it was really fun game. I didn't heard much about it before. I only saw it on a couple of videos of other Platinum hunters, but I wasn't really sure what I should expect, and I was really surprised by it. But I don't think it should be that high. It was giving this nice feeling of accomplishment similar to Crash, but it wasn't as good as Crash. And now the final battle between the Plucky Squire and Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption is a classic. Like, I played Red Dead Redemption 2, it was amazing. This part was a little bit worse, but it was still pretty good. The story was great, the gameplay was really smooth, and I really liked almost every part of it. But the Plucky Squire, man, this game, I knew almost nothing about it before. When I was making my research on what game should I pick up for 2 out of 10, I just found some lists and was scrolling through it, and I was like, oh, the Plucky Squire, I heard about it somewhere. So I checked it, it was like, oh, okay, it's a platformer, it has some puzzles, and I didn't have much expectations for it. And only because of this huge surprise that this game was. Like, all the fun, all the surprising things that was happening, all the creative things that were happening. It was super fun. It was one of the best platformers I have ever played. And just because of that, I have to place it above Red Dead Redemption. I feel I had much more fun with this game. Red Dead had moments where I was bored, like all those hunting for animals, searching those undead bears and cougars. Despite being very fun, it still had many moments where it was boring. The Plucky Squire didn't have any of such moments. Thank you so much for watching this whole journey. If you have an idea for the next challenge I could do, leave it in the comments below. Remember to drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.